Hey everybody, welcome to our video podcast. I guess it's a video podcast. This is the Arkin brothers talk about movies. I think we're going to talk about movies, and we're probably today going to talk about 1955's The Desperate Hours, directed by William Wyler and starring Humphrey Bogart, Fredric March, and a cast of other remarkable people. Stay tuned.
Talking about cocktails that are stylish, movies great or phony, and how Tony should win a Matthew, and Matthew should win a Tony. But in the meantime, talking about film in the meantime. The Arkin brothers talk about movies.
Hello there. How are you, sir?
I don't know where they found that photograph from our childhood with me with the gun to your head like that.
I don't either. First of all, let's just explain. Audio is a little bit off on this one because
Yes.
Matthew's remote today.
I am remote. I'm hiding in a closet at our brother's house, and our other brother,
Right.
one of our many other brothers.
And you have a Soviet-era microphone that used to be used in a submarine.
It's just the mic on my Mac. It's a Mac mic.
This is not a good advertisement for Macintosh products.
Well, if they want a better advertisement, they got to pay me.
That's the way it is, that's all.
Yeah, that is the way it is.
So we are aware of this, and there's nothing we can do about it. Matthew's on the road. So
I'm on the road, taking care of dogs.
We've also had an interruption in our show. We apologize for that. We like to try to do this once a week, and this last month or so has been very hard to get that together for both of us. I mean, we were out of town together. We took a trip together.
Oh, that's right. We haven't had a show since Florida.
No, we thought we would maybe try to do a live one, but then when you get down there, you realize that there's no room for anything but a beverage after work.
And time in the hot tub before the beverage.
Yes.
We had a lot of hot tub time. And 8,000 very enthusiastic high school students.
The Florida Thespian Festival is no joke. They have a lot of very, very enthusiastic young people there. And they exhaust you with their energy within 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That the day begins.
They're great, though.
They're great. It's fantastic, but you're just not used to being around that much, high school energy. It's incredible.
There's more energy
crawling with them.
Yeah, there's more energy coming out in one day there than I expend in a year.
Yeah, it could power a city. It does power Tampa the whole time it's there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But we had fun, and it was great to hang out. But we didn't get to do shows or see movies, and that's we didn't want to do a cooking show. I think that you and I talking about cooking shows we should talk about talking about them. We should talk about your fascination with them, but I don't think we should watch them together.
Yeah, I made an amazing dinner the other night.
Now get out there and cook!
Somebody said that to me the other day.
Yeah.
Most of them are dinner now, and I made a spectacular dinner. Sautéed a little onion, olive oil, added a whole bottle of clam juice, and about 2 cups of white wine, and reduced all of that down to about 3/4 of a cup of liquid. So it was very intense clam broth, white wine reduction. Then dumped that over farfalle pasta with 2 cans of very good Italian tuna packed in olive oil, chopped Kalamata olives, capers, tossed it around, a little cayenne pepper, threw it in a bowl, a little fresh parsley and freshly grated lemon zest on top of that, a little Parmesan cheese. Mwah!
It sounds great. Sounds great.
Hilliard!
And that, for those of you not watching the video but listening on the podcast, that was a shot of Fredric March passionately kissing his wife, which is sort of what I did to that bowl of pasta the other night.
That sounds delicious. It really does.
It was
Um,
pretty.
some of you may not know this show was originally called The Arkin Brothers Talk About Food and Movies,
Yes.
wasn't it?
And David Gregory wants to know no anchovies. He's asking no anchovies. David, I thought about putting anchovies in it. The person who I was cooking for, I wasn't sure if she would like the anchovies, so I left them out because I knew it would be good without them. Might have been a little better with them. But actually, during the dinner, I asked, would you have liked a little anchovies in this? And the response I got was yes. So next time, little anchovies added to that to give it a little more umami. And I'm
Yeah.
sure we've lost a lot of our audience now with me talking about the food.
Between the food and the audio situation, I think we've lost everybody. So let's get to talking about the whole show, the reason we're here, the raison. Is French.
Clickety, clickety, click. I can see it perking.
Yeah, well, but before we do that, I want to know if you've been watching anything else, because there's something to talk about.
I watched our the third brother, or the first brother, whichever way you want to look at it, has some episodes that he directed of a show called, I believe it's called The Night Agent, on Netflix.
That's right.
And he did some of like some real action stuff in this that he had to direct and choreograph, and he did a great job. I actually was just talking to him the other day because he's in New York, or he's in Brooklyn, and I was in Brooklyn, and so I got to see him, which was really cool.
That's cool.
And I got to tell him how much I loved that work. I thought it was great. So that was cool. Is that what you were kind of angling towards?
That's what I was angling towards. I thought, we need to help him out. We need to give him a little.
We all need to help each other. Yeah, no, and everybody needs some help with the old promotional machinery.
But I've been watching the show. I'm almost done with it, and these episodes really stand out. They're terrific.
They really do, as per usual. He's a terrific director. Our brother.
He knows what he's
3 bullets left.
Yeah, there you go. That's us. 3 bullets.
That's us. 3 bullets.
All right, now we can get to the movie. I've covered everything going on in my life other than.
Yes. So today we're talking about The Desperate Hours. We were starting this very elaborate home invasion string of movies, and it's a very deep well. There's a lot of them, and some of them are pretty rough. Like I wouldn't. It'd be hard to recommend to some viewers some of the ones I know about that are just a hard set. This is a gentler one. Maybe this is one. This is a home invasion movie. I guess you could almost see with your grandparents.
Yeah, I think our probably saw it.
Yeah, but you could see that with them. That you could watch it with them, and it wouldn't be too much because it's like a family-friendly home invasion movie, if you can imagine such a thing.
Yeah, although there are a couple of things in it that, for the time, surprised me a little.
Yes, I don't disparage it. I'm just kind of gently poking fun at the idea of a movie that is so, it's a really great movie in the sense that it's not really a home invasion movie. I mean, it's about a lot of other things, and it's kind of using the noir stuff to its advantage, but it's really not about gangsters or any of that. It's got other stuff on its mind.
Yeah. So if we should give a little setup for the movie, tell folks what it's about.
Sure. Do you want to encapsulate it, or do you want me to?
Fredric March is an upper middle management executive, I guess, or an executive at a company. Has a lovely family, of the 50s style. In fact, the home that they are in is the home that was used in the exteriors for Leave It to Beaver. So that tells you everything you need to know about the home and the town that they live in Indianapolis suburbs. Beautiful home, wife, older daughter, younger son, perfect American family. Humphrey Bogart and his younger brother and some complete nut job break out of prison and come back.
All right.
They come back to this town because that's where they were arrested, and there was a deputy sheriff in that town who broke Bogey's jaw when he was arrested, and Bogey is going to set him straight after they've escaped, and they need to hide out in a house until Bogey's girlfriend shows up with some dough, so they can settle the score with the deputy and then make off. So they got to hide out in this house until the mall gets there, and hilarious hijinks ensue.
Yeah, they're not that hilarious though. The hijinks,
no, not at all.
They're grim. It's a grim tale.
Yeah. So did we like this movie?
Well, have you seen it before? What's your relationship? What's your former? Have you ever seen this film before, Mr.
I
Arkin?
never saw this movie before. I'd heard the title, didn't know anything like it.
Okay.
Didn't know anything about it. I mean,
until we saw the remake of this movie, with Anthony Hopkins and
I never saw that.
Mickey Rourke. Didn't we watch that for the show?
No.
We didn't?
No, we didn't.
Were we going to, and then I watched it and you didn't?
Maybe.
Don't tell me to take it easy.
Yeah. No, we didn't. I never saw the other one.
I'm really confused.
Somebody's gonna get wise.
Not me. I'm not. Apparently wisdom has left the building. I thought that
I'm crushed.
the home invasion series, because we watched the Mickey Rourke and Anthony Hopkins version of it, directed by Michael Cimino.
No, you mentioned that. We started the home invasion series with Suddenly.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, so so that's what happened. Thanks for clarifying. I had rewatched the remake Desperate Hours. It got me thinking about home invasion movies, and then we did Suddenly first, and then we did the original one of this, and we did not cover the remake. Thank you. Clarified.
There.
Understood.
I feel better.
So you came to this completely free of any prior entanglements.
Nothing. Knew absolutely nothing about it.
Were you how up? I know you know about your bogey movies, but how up were you on Fredric March? How up were you with William Wyler movies, etc.?
William Wyler, I'm a fan of some of his work that I've seen. Roman Holiday, I adore that movie. Love that film. Wuthering Heights, big fan. How to Steal a Million, we did on this show.
Yeah.
And this movie, at first for me, started a little slowly. I thought it did. Looking back, I don't think it did, because what it did, I didn't feel any tension at the beginning. Very much. And then the more the movie went on, the more I got tightly wound into a ball of fear and anxiety and oddly compassion, which we will get to talking about, and then just terrified me and ripped my heart out at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Which, for a home invasion movie with a bad guy, surprised the hell out of me.
Yeah, it really does. I know enough about William Wyler now at this point to not be that surprised by that part of it, because he's a real humanist. You know, I mean, he did Best Years of Our Lives with Fredric March, and that movie is a heart crusher. That movie is really powerful still. He always finds kind of a humanist angle on stuff, I feel like, and so that's a very Wyler thing, like, to me, to examine a little bit more closely, like, the messy morality of this, and so that was kind of cool. But when I first saw it, I didn't know any of that about William Wyler, and I was like you, just kind of surprised and too young for it, because my main takeaway the first time I saw it was that it was too slow, or that it didn't really. I was after the home invasion part,
Right.
and I think as a more old person now, I identify with Fredric March, now in a way that even without kids, I still identify with that idea of a decent person confronted with just completely indecent experiences, and he just broke my heart this time.
Interesting, because I really I identify much more with Robert Middleton.
Well, we'll get into casting later, but
Easy, I said, easy. You scream and the kid will come home and find you in a pool of blood.
yeah, I mean, the first half feels like it lacks the punch of a noir movie that you're expecting. And then the second half shows up and you realize that it's a drama about fatherhood and responsibility and honor and all these other things. It's not really a noir movie,
No.
And that stuff sneaks up on you because it's not really a short movie. It does kind of take an investment.
Yeah.
My
Wait,
name
they-
is Ralph. Ralph.
That mirroring of the story of the father trying to teach the son, or the son sort of making these decisions about what it means to be a man, even at his tender age of 8 or whatever he is, and the father observing that and trying to figure out what he wants to teach his son, and Bogey as the older brother trying to protect and teach his younger brother. That sort of mirrored storyline is crushing.
It really is. It's really good. As a play first, right? This thing, and there's aspects. I think they, having seen the Michael Cimino one, I think Wyler, does a much better job of adapting this to a movie. It feels claustrophobic for sure, but it doesn't feel stage bound or stage reliant. Like it doesn't feel like you're watching a play.
No, because they get out there into the real world.
They do, but they also handle that house the way that they shoot it in such a beautiful way. I mean, that's some great photography in this movie. Lee Garms, who also, shot things like the original Scarface and Morocco with Marlene Dietrich, Shanghai Express, like early 30s, just gorgeous black and white photography. He did such a beautiful job, and Wyler's shooting with like these, always with really wide lenses, to capture a lot of action in the foreground and in the background and across the space of the screen.
Your relatives in there?
One of the things that kind of goes against the noir vibe a little bit, that is surprising, is how much light you have to throw at those sets when you're shooting with that level of depth of field. Because you see those shots in the house where, like, you'll see in the foreground there are people eating, and then in the background there's somebody walking in and out of a back door, and then there's something happening in the middle distance, and everybody's in focus. You can see everybody. That kind of photography at that time particularly required just an enormous amount of light. They just had to blast the set with light, which wasn't exactly the noir vibe. But it actually is kind of crazy, because that Leave It to Beaver quality exists in this movie too, like it does in Suddenly. It's like these movies were really trying to explode the myth of the safe suburban home.
I'm getting attacked from all sides this morning.
How safe are we in these beautiful little,
Right.
enclaves?
Yeah. I love how they set some of that up
In
too.
love.
That safe thing of in the morning at the beginning with Fredric March leaving for work, and the daughter leaving for work with Fredric March, and don't talk about your boyfriend with Dad. It'll get him
I may
upset.
not drive a hot rod like your lawyer friend, but I'll get you there.
Yeah, so the mom says to each of them independently, don't talk about the boyfriend, it'll upset her. Don't talk about the boyfriend, it'll upset him. And the son goes off to school. Or has he gone off? No, he hasn't left for school. He does. He leaves for school, right?
Yeah.
And the mom is there, and she gives this look around the neighborhood before she shuts the door. You know, this, oh, look at our neighborhood and look at America, and isn't everything perfect? And then she goes into the house and starts doing her 50s housewife duties.
Yeah.
Before all hell breaks. So we're so set up for everything to go wrong.
And it's so interesting how they keep using that bicycle that the kid thrown down there on the lawn.
Hey, fellas, what'd I say wrong? What'd I say?
It's one of my favorite moments in the movie, by the way. I love that. That bicycle that's just there, you know, that the kid throws down there, and you know is kind of like, probably has been told to clean that bike, like put that bike away 100 times.
Yeah.
And it's actually weirdly the thing that you feel draws the bad guys to the house, because it's in the shot, the POV shot out the window of their car pulling up along the street, and they kind of zoom in on that bike and then pass it.
Yeah.
It kind of psychically ties this moral lesson about becoming a man to this little kid's little mistake. It's really weird.
And they say it. The bad Bogey says, we look for a house with kids in it. You know.
Yeah.
They want, because those people will be easier to control.
Yeah. It's really smart. I really wish I'd love to see a production of it. I wonder how it works on stage, and I also wonder if the thing that bothered me about the Michael Cimino version from the 90s actually still kind of, I thought, was not perfect in this, but I think it may be a problem maybe with the play, in that I just felt like there was more interesting mileage that they could have gotten out of the situation that Bogey was in vis-a-vis what's the big guy who plays
Middleton was the actor Kobish.
Kobish, right. I just feel like there was there could have been more interesting things made out of the issue of that.
I told you I can't go out.
I think
lunatic.
Well, a lunatic. It seemed a little, that lunatic character in both these movies feels a little cartoonish.
Yeah.
And I don't think Wyler seems to be kind of like not a very cartoony director. I think it may be a problem with the writing of that character. There's something, he's just there to be a force of chaos, but I wish that they had found more interesting ways to make it so that Humphrey Bogart's character had to manage this group and the family, and the mounting pressure of that on him, I feel like was a bit lost.
Yeah.
Clickety, clickety, you're off your rocker.
Like, you know, the guy, he just like kind of decides to take the gun at one point, and Bogey just kind of lets him do it, but there's not enough of a moment of like, oh man, I really don't think that I can afford to let this guy have the gun or stop him. It's not I think they could have made more of it, but maybe that's just more leaning into the noir stuff, which Wyler wasn't interested in doing.
Yeah, I agree. So many incredible details in the film too, in terms of particular visually how they chose to show certain things. Little details, like there's a moment during the manhunt when one of the cops is, or I don't know if it's one of the cops or I think Fredric March gets the newspaper, and the newspaper is thrown to the house, and they brings the newspaper in, and the way the newspaper is folded, you know, the headline says something about the escaped convicts and cops stymied, is what the headline must say, but the newspaper's folded so that the headline reads "Convicts Stymied," which is not what the headline says.
Right.
But it's the message that we get.
Right.
Is that things are not going according to their plan.
Yeah. Yeah, Wyler is so good at putting those details in without focus. He really respects the audience. He doesn't over direct anything. There are so many sequences that he really just lets happen in a 2-shot, and he doesn't add inserts or like reinforce things that a lot of other directors seem like nervous about making sure the audience gets. But there's details, like you say, are really, really buried in these shots. They're not over directed, you know.
Another one that comes up is the juxtaposition of the Dewey Martin character, Bogey's younger brother, one of the bad guys, and Gig Young, who's the ostensible boyfriend, the kind of unliked boyfriend.
Yeah, the fancy lawyer.
Yeah, fancy lawyer, and we're expecting the trope of the young guy who's going to be attracted to is there going to be a rape? There's even Bogey. There are a couple of comments about having your fun. Not exactly that crass, but there's the hint of that. And the younger brother has no intention, and they make it clear, no intention of anything inappropriate with the daughter. He wants to be a better person. And then,
What are you going to do? Shut up.
the first time we see Gig Young, when he's picking her up, he's in his fancy convertible. We know something happened that they had an argument about last night, Gig Young and the daughter. We don't know what it was, but we can assume the hint is that he pushed too far for something. She's young. And he pulls up in front of her house in his fancy little coupe, and the armrest is down between the two seats. And before he goes to get her, he looks at the armrest and he pulls it up, clearly so that he can pull her closer. And that this idea that here's the good guy who's hell-bent on behaving inappropriately, and here's the bad guy who's hell-bent on behaving appropriately.
Yeah.
And they don't, like you say, they don't make a lot of it. It's just
They-
it's just
yeah.
let it in there.
It's really assured, and like and that's what makes the movie about other stuff. That's like why it's really not a thriller. It's not a thriller noir kind of movie. It's
Clickety, clickety, click, pop.
he says clickety click maybe a one too many times.
Clickety, 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 clickety.
Oh,
Somebody else caught that too. Yeah,
there's our producer going right on top of it.
that seemed a little bit dated to me, even at that time. But yeah.
Yeah. Another great little detail is the moment of when the brother, where there's a moment where they have this radio in the house. It's established early on. The mom is listening to it as she does her cleaning, getting news. They can get news from it, and then in a fit of anger, Bogey breaks the radio. And shortly thereafter, his brother, who decides to abandon the whole enterprise, his brother is killed. And we go from the shot of the dead brother on the highway to a shot of the broken radio. That process shot is amazing. What
It's
we
so
don't
good.
see on screen.
So
We
well
don't-
done.
Yeah. Just, oh my God. But we go from that shot to a shot of the broken radio. And it's just so eloquently saying, Bogey will not know that we won't hear it on the radio.
Yeah.
Bogey won't know that his brother is dead.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's way ahead of you, this movie. Wyler's really great. He's really great. It reminds me of like he's a little bit like Stanley Kubrick. He's like a warmer, less icy Stanley Kubrick in a lot of respects. Incredibly clean lines, incredibly wide angles on long scenes that are with a lot of emotional complexity, and dealing with really heightened things like he is. It's
So,
violent. There's
it
a
is
lot.
violent.
The violence is pretty sudden and crazy. Like I was noting that the fight choreography in it is fantastic because it's so messy. It doesn't look staged, and it when things break like go crazy between Fredric March and Bogey, or between the wife and Bogey, it looks. It's got that Sam Fuller kind of out of control quality to it.
Guilty! Why don't you pick on some of your own side?
I mean, she really slaps him there, clearly, and there's just like a great. The violence feels sudden and out of control and messy and
There's a moment that I rewound several times and watched, which is the fight by the couch when the plane gets broken. And they pick that kid. That's not a stunt kid.
no, they throw him around.
Throw him on the couch.
Yeah.
Upside down, tossed on the couch. I was like, holy Moses.
Unless they got Mickey Rooney in for a day to double for him, you know. But
that was me and Adam as kids.
Yeah, for sure.
To each other, you know.
Um,
That was great.
Missed.
That moment of almost running out, him trying to run over the dog. Were they trying to tell us something about his character with that?
that's what I'm saying. That character is the only part of it that feels a little bit pushed, like a little bit forced, and I think they could have done something more. He could have since he represents chaos, right, and the raging id, I guess. They could have capitalized on that energy more in this movie, made him more of a threat, more of a loose cannon. But he seems to be too easily controlled by Bogey when it's helpful for the story, you know? So it's the only nitpick I have about it. But again, I think that's probably from the play. I would imagine that's, since it's the same problem it exists, I said, in the Cimino version, it's probably in the source material too. I mean, he is a disgusting character. He's a scary, disgusting creature, certainly for 1955. They don't mess around with how bad these guys are. Do you have a well, you know, you were talking about Dewey, and it leads into a question about maybe your favorite shots. But I think the moment that I knew the movie was operating on an unexpected level for me was the silent scene where Dewey is by himself and he looks out the window from behind the curtains and he sees that group of teenagers get into their car across the street having fun, going to a party, and they all like are having fun and they all pile into this car and they zoom off, and that Dewey just watching that from inside this cave, you know, like he's still in this prison. He was really, I don't know if it was the actor or, but that moment really got to me. It really, really felt that dilemma, and it was like great silent movie making there. Really, really poignant and beautifully shot. And
there's things like that. There's a couple of moments that are silent and tell a huge story. The shot of Bogey and Bogey when his jaw is hurting. And he's just sitting alone, feeling that where he got hit. Another great cut in it is a shot of Bogey in the dark, sitting in the dark, pensive, trying to figure everything out, and a match cut to the detective in his office. And it's a match cut. They're in the same exact position, and Bogey's in the dark, and the detective's in the light.
Yes.
And it's great. But the scene where the brothers break up just devastated me. When Dewey leaves, and Bogey's ability to play a guy who is horrible, and then I mean it's Wyler and Bogey. I mean, Bogey is able to pull it off. That I was at the end when he makes the decision that he makes, and we realize it's going to be suicide by cop. I was sobbing at the end of this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an incredible twist, and really the same. It's the same, almost flip side thing that Fredric March goes through. Fredric, you don't really. I mean, I think Fredric March is just a brilliant, very undersung actor. Nobody really talks about him or references him much today. He had a. Maybe people thought he was a little bit soft because he was always kind of very moral. Seemed like very, moral about the things he'd do or not, which is very admirable, I think. He just seemed like a decent person. I don't even know if he was, but that's what he projected, kind of like Spencer Tracy,
Right. Who was supposed to play that role, by the way.
I didn't know that. Is that true? Wow.
He was supposed to play it. He and Bogey apparently were very good friends, but neither of them would cede top billing to the other.
Oh, man.
Spencer Tracy
That drives me crazy. Well, good. Fredric March stepped in and is brilliant in it, and I think, similarly, the transformation into somebody who you're like, oh, this guy's a milquetoast. I don't think that this guy can handle this situation, literally, to somebody that you're like, oh, this guy's got it in him. Like, he could, Fredric March, you 100% believe when he says, if you do anything to these people, I'm gonna kill you, and you completely believe that he's gonna do that. And that's a hell of a transformation too. So they both have this incredible arc where, one of them reveals the fact that they have an inner beast inside them, and the other one reveals that he has like this childlike, inability to be without his brother. It's just like it's really cool.
Raise your hands above your head.
Got to give some credit to, because I doubt this is in the. I wonder if it's in the play or not. I don't know how it could be. But the fact that Fredric March, near the end of the movie, the climax, decides, and this is such great, like, left-wing screenwriting and movie making, right?
Yeah.
Where he's like, I'm going to take the gun. I know he's going to find it. He's going to pat me down, but I might need it. I might need a gun. So they offer him a gun to go back in the house. And he's like, okay. He doesn't like guns, but he's going to do it. And then he empties all the bullets out. And he takes an empty gun into the house and defeats the enemy with an empty gun. I thought it was brilliant.
That moment of the cook, it's like, what movie is that? It's from a different movie.
Yeah, I love that about this movie. It feels like there's so many little moments of joy and funny things outside that house, right? Like that little kid playing football going like, what did I do? Like, Dad, and another kid like kicks the bicycle wheel and it makes a noise, and everybody seems to be having this great day outside of this house. And Wyler allows you to see what the family is missing. And he doesn't make the mistake that a lot of directors who over-direct stuff, in my opinion, like they're making a dark movie so everything is just miserable. But no, Wyler's saying like, no, right outside is a great day with wonderful people who care about each other.
Yeah.
Step inside.
Where's Sheriff Masters? In Michigan.
Great moment.
Great character actors. What else did I? The quiet and the crickets too. In all of those shots at night, building the tension. That sweet, idyllic neighborhood, beautiful. Leave It to Beaver. It was also the house in Marcus Welby.
Oh, wow!
And the crickets, and just it just so devastating.
Yeah, it's because they show you that the beauty of that environment. I guess it's like it. I've never heard this discussion of whether this movie is noir or not, and I don't feel like it's a noir film because a noir, if it was truly a noir movie, the entire universe would be corrupt.
Right.
Like all of it would, like the town. There's something wrong with the town too. Like the town would have asked for this somehow. You know, there'd been something wrong with it, and with the family. But that's simply not what's going on here.
And the FBI guy ends up being, FBI guys who Whit Bissell, who's spectacular.
Bissell's always great,
and
and Arthur Kennedy, who's always great.
Arthur Kennedy and Ray Collins, who shows up at the end as the sheriff, just spectacular. Burt Mustin is the night watchman.
Yeah, all these fantastic character actors from the day, brilliant dudes.
People, I've seen these people a billion times every time they come on screen. It's just amazing. But the cops, by and large, the sheriff who shows up at the end is a jerk.
Yeah. And that's also a very like left-wing thing where it's like, no, the system's not all great. You know, they're cops, but some of it's messed up. He's bad.
Yeah. What else? There's just, I just can't believe how much I ended up being moved by the film.
You know, that's so interesting. I got this really strong, like, if To Kill a Mockingbird was a home invasion movie, this is what it would be.
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect. Exactly. I do have to, bringing it back around to food, though. I do have to say that diner.
Dude, I haven't.
Now get out there and cook.
That's the most beautiful diner I've ever seen.
That diner that the younger brother goes into when he's trying to escape. I was like, that's where I would eat.
I wrote it down. It's the most beautiful diner in the universe.
Like, you and I would be driving down the highway and we would see that diner and we'd go, we could have just eaten. We might have just eaten and we'd say, we're going to stop and get another dinner right here at this diner.
That's the diner that you buy with your like all the money from your life insurance policy. Like you want that diner in your life.
Oh, excuse me.
That scene is unbelievably great.
The whole scene. Terrifying.
That scene is incredible, and the fact that you so badly don't want Dewey to shoot anybody at that point makes it that much more impactful. You know, like it's a incredibly well shot little action moment where he shoots that cop from inside the phone booth. It's beautifully edited, really, really messed up. But also you by that point are invested in Dewey not doing this. You know, you understand that he does it, but you don't want him to do it.
Yeah. You want him to get away. You want him to be okay.
Yeah, it's just so good.
There's another actor I have to mention. We're talking about the things that are anachronistic in the movie, that sort of jump out as not quite. Joe Flynn, who is the driver of the car that Dewey kidnaps him to get his car, was McHale's Navy actor. It's one of those. He's just one of those actors who did those kinds of.
Yeah, he auditioned. He got the part. What are you going to do? In fact, he was the two characters that I am going to recast us in.
Yeah.
Are I don't know which ones we get, but we're going to audition, and one of us will get one of the two hijacked guys. So you're either the handyman, or you're Mr. Peepers.
Oh, okay.
But one of us
Oh, well, I had Mr. Peepers. I had you as Mr. Peepers.
Okay.
And I had me as the night watchman with the envelope of money.
That's who has like two little tiny scenes.
Yeah.
That guy's hysterical.
Yeah. Nothing to do.
That guy's hysterical.
Role where somebody has nothing to do, let's cast Matthew.
Is he sitting down? Matthew will do it.
Yeah, he's good.
I love the.
I don't want to do the stunt of jumping from the moving truck.
No, that's some rough stuff.
Yeah.
No safety.
Don't drink your milk, Junior. You ain't gonna grow up to be a big, strong man like Daddy.
great. That kid's great.
You know who played the roles in the play?
No.
Carl Malden played the dad,
Great.
and young Paul Newman played the bogey role.
Played Bogey. Interesting. So they went young. They went young with it on stage.
Well, it was yeah. Actually they went old in the movie. It was a younger character in
Right.
Then they went old, and I think this was Bogey's last tough guy role.
You didn't know what a tough old bird you married, did you?
Talking to Lauren Bacall.
My one quibble about the script actually was her response. I thought it would have been nice if she went like, "Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I did know.
I did know.
Screw you."
Yeah. What's your double feature with this?
I just want to give a nod to my favorite. The scene that I think is probably for me the best scene in the movie is the scene where. It's right after a bit of action. People have like run out of the house and back in, and they've got Ralphie, the little kid. One of them's got him like outside the house, and Fredric March doesn't know this, and he's trying to make a phone call, and the wife comes out on the banister overlooking the living room and says like, they've got him, they've got Ralphie, and the shot where that's the moment where he realizes that they've got the kid, and you see the turn. That's the moment I think where you see in Fredric March turn into the guy who could take all of these guys out. There's so many things happening in that moment. There's so much choreography. There's so many different things that different groups of people are doing in the house and outside the house. You never lose track of the geography, and at that moment it becomes completely noir because it's one of the only really dark shots in the movie. He's like spotlighted and has to make this decision about how to handle it now that they've crossed the line. Oh my God, incredible.
Talking about Fredric March, you can't talk about him without talking about 1959's Middle of the Night with him and Tim Nolan.
Great. Never saw the movie, but I know the play. Amelia did that play. Really? There was a revival of it that hadn't been done in years, in forever. She did it several years ago. It's a wonderful. I'm sure March was great in it.
Who played the Fredric March role when she did it?
I don't remember. Some guy
mashing on my wife. I don't want to think about him.
Do I have anything else? No. Just big notes about how great that diner is that I want to go there so freaking bad.
You got to find that diner. So your double feature, I think the double feature with this movie is obvious for me, anyway.
What's the double feature?
Wait Until Dark. Got to give a nod to Dad.
Oh, okay, I love it.
Trapped in a small space.
That's a movie we should do in Home Invasion Month. My double bill was In Cold Blood.
Oh, yeah.
Which kind of like...
I got my guts full of you shiny-shoed, down-your-nose wise guys with white handkerchiefs in their pockets.
So great.
The funny thing about Cold Blood is you actually, at the end of that movie, don't end up feeling a lot of sympathy for the home invaders.
I would argue that when was the last time you saw it?
I was, I think, 7.
Yeah, well, that's actually kind of not true. I mean, the reason I picked it was because you actually you are heartbroken by the fact that these guys do it. It's you actually do really care. You're horrified by what they do, but they also show you that they're people and that their abuse that happened to them made them do, kind of created these monsters, but that they were. It's a very morally dark, complicated movie, and that's kind of why I feel like they're similar. You really get there's no easy explanations or easy outs. No one's an absolute complete villain, because if Bogey still in this movie did all the horrible things that he did, but once you see that he loves his brother that much and that he can't live without him,
right,
and won't control him, you see dimension to him that kind of does break your heart.
I'm crushed.
Definitely. If anybody out there is listening to this and hasn't seen In Cold Blood and decides to see it, tread with caution. It is a absolutely terrifying movie, much more hard to watch than this is, and it's also a true story, and so tread with caution.
You don't really want us to drink ourselves to sleep or something, do you?
Do you have? Did you recast it?
I did recast it. I think it would be in here.
You can't look up your recast on IMDb. They wouldn't have it.
No. Okay. So here's my recasting. The dad. You may not know this guy. I would go with an Irish actor. Is he Irish or Scottish? I'm going to get shot for asking that question.
Boy, this is going great.
Douglas Henshaw.
I don't know who that is.
Who's he? A series called Shetland. British TV series called Shetland. He's Scottish. Those are Scottish. This Shetland Islands, I believe. And he's spectacular. The mom, I wanted to make stronger, so I went with Laura Linney for the mom. And then for the bad guys, I decided to switch it up and make it women who have escaped, a modern remake of this, women who have escaped from the prison. Toni Collette as Humphrey Bogart. Anna Kendrick as the younger sister. And Rebel Wilson as Kobish.
Hello?
You think you hate all of my choices.
I'm trying to. I think I like it. No, I actually like it, and I'm just trying to digest the Rebel Wilson as Kobish part, and I think in keeping with the fact that that's a part of the movie that never has worked, why not? I mean, why not make that part of it like the Wedding Crashers and the rest of it Desperate Hours?
I was actually thinking of it more as a way for, she's actually been trying to reinvent herself, or has been reinventing herself, maybe successfully, Rebel Wilson. So
you're doing like heavy duty. You're like thinking about this like an agent. You're actually.
I was thinking this is an opportunity for her to show a new side of herself.
Right. It's a brutal, oafish murderer.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know if she's going to go for that. She's actually very.
Right, then we could go.
No questions. Oh, yes, sir. No questions at all, sir.
Let's do a reading. If we all feel like it gels and she feels comfortable with the role after a table read, let's do it. As you know, I recast from the past, so I'm not going to have Rebel Wilson. I probably have some things that you go, what? But I'd like to recast this movie and make it in like the late 70s. Anywhere from like 77 to 80. So the Fredric March character, I would like Ronnie Cox to play. I'm going to offer it to Ronnie Cox.
Excellent.
Bogey, I'm going to go for Rutger Hauer.
Yes, I'm with you.
I'd like the wife to be played by Jo Beth Williams.
Excellent.
I'd like the boyfriend to be played by Sean Cassidy.
Okay.
And the daughter to be played by Brooke Shields.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'd like Dewey to be played by Jan Michael Vincent. And Kobish to be played by Joe Spinell. And really creep it up. Like, really creep it up with these guys.
Joe Spinell.
Joe Spinell and Jan Michael Vincent. Like, two dudes that can bring some creepiness. Yeah. And then I wanna cast Sidney Poitier as the lead cop.
Love it. Love it. You're much Much
No,
wiser.
I just have a gimmick because I recast in the past. I mean, these people aren't. You're actually taking this as a legit. What would it be like today? And
Right.
I think that's a good angle. I think that's great. And we have two different ways of approaching it.
How do you recommend people watch this movie?
How do I recommend it? I don't know. I guess there's only so many ways you can watch a movie, and I would say on some form of screening device, some kind of screen.
I think you should watch it with somebody who used to be your best friend, but now you can't stand it.
The house is crawling with them.
I wish it were the kind of movie that it's not viscerally exciting, and William Wyler isn't the kind of like flashy director that makes it the kind of movie that you could take a younger viewer and be like, you haven't seen a lot of black and white movies. This would not be a good starter movie.
No.
Which is too bad because it's fantastic, but it's just not quite viscerally exciting enough for, I think, to capture like somebody who's new to the 50s movies or something.
No, the movie I used with Atticus was Casablanca.
Yeah, that's much more engaging for a person who's not familiar with that stuff. Like as a first time thing.
I don't want to watch an old black and white movie with those old
right.
people.
Clickety clickety click, I can.
Or like a real gangster noir movie that's like, like Raw Deal or Public Enemy.
Right.
Even the original Scarface, which the same guy shot, same DP. Can you imagine that? The original Scarface.
Wow.
But anyway, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend this one. I think this is like just a classic. That's every bit as interesting as a movie like High Noon, for instance. But High Noon has always gotten more attention, and I think this is deserving of more classic praise.
Right.
Classic.
So for next week, do you have a home invasion movie we watch for next? Well, let's say our next episode, because who knows what the heck is going on in our lives.
Well, I'd like. That was just Humphrey Bogart staring into space. Yeah. That's how I felt. We'll try to do it for next week. We're going to try to do every week as much as possible. If it's not possible, we won't. But what I'd like to propose is we continue with this vein and do a movie called Lady in a Cage.
Okay.
Which is another home invasion movie that is
Joan Crawford and James Caan?
James Caan. It's not Joan Crawford.
It's somebody.
It's I forget who it is.
Oh my gosh.
And it's this is the crazy version.
It's Olivia de Havilland.
Yeah, Olivia de Havilland. This movie's crazy, and I can't wait to share it with you.
And Elliot says, no, it's a milk spill behind him. Who? Island shot of Bogey. His coat is spilling milk all over his face.
Just like the kid did.
Just like the kid did. I hadn't caught that. Wow.
Hello?
Next week, Lady in a Cage.
Excellent.
All right.
Great to see you.
You too. See you next week. Bye, everybody.